Imagine this. You're 14. You dance, you curl, you read books by the series, and you watch your favorite movies so many times you can quote them. You hang out with your friends at your favorite bookstores, at rodeos, and at each other's houses, cooking, playing, and talking about your things and people that you love, your hopes and your dreams. You have your whole life ahead of you. And then you get sick, but it's just a cold, so you go on. You dance a few recitals, you curl a bit, but then 2 months passed and your cold still hasn't gone away. So your mom takes you to your family doctor, and then the next thing you know, you're being rushed to the Children's Hospital in London. You have cancer. Your life has been put on hold. You can't see your friends or do the things you love. The only people you see are the doctors, the nurses, and your mom. You don't even know if you'll survive. Hi, my name is Bronwyn Huffman. I am from Thunder Bay, and I don't have to imagine it because that happened to me. On January 15th, 2012, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, AML. This is a tricky leukemia to treat, so the protocol is to hit it with a lot of chemo over a short period of time. This meant I would not be going home for another 6 months until it was done. I had a central line installed in my chest, which is an IV that goes into the
That's okay. Take your time.
IV that leads directly into a large vein above my heart. I went through 4 rounds of chemo. In each round, I was given 3 different chemo drugs through my central line, over 2 to 3 hours every 12 hours for several days. I would be given about 3 weeks to recover before starting another round. The chemo left me feeling sick. Being nauseous just became another way of life, a new normal. I hardly ate, so I was given TPN, a liquid food, through my central line. I had to take many drugs to counteract side effects and help prevent infections and viruses. Chemo kills all fast-growing cells, including the good ones. Along with the leukemia, blood cells were killed too. As a result, I had many blood transfusions. Red blood cells to help with my energy, platelets to help with clotting blood. But there is no transfusion for white blood cells that help infection. So I spent most of the 4 months of treatment in isolation. You heard that right. 4 months, not 6. My body rebounded from treatment so quickly after each round. I completed it all in 4 months. 1 week after my last round, I developed a fever. Tylenol did little to help, and my temperature would spike, causing my body to shake several times during the night and the day. The shaking would make my nausea worse. Even the best anti-nausea meds wouldn't do anything. For 5 days and nights, my mom and I didn't get much sleep, but I barely remember this time. I was that sick. One day, my mom was holding my shoulders still as I shook when I felt like something really heavy was on my chest. I looked at her and said, "My chest hurts." Suddenly, there were doctors and nurses everywhere checking me out. Tests were done and I was moved to ICU. There they changed my meds to ones that worked for the heart. My fluid intake was reduced to help take the weight off my lungs. Still, it was hard to breathe. I was given an art line. It takes an IV. It's like an IV, but goes into the artery of your wrist and measures your blood pressure. Mine was very low. The next morning, on May 16th, I was airlifted to the cardiac care unit at Sick Kids. There was no room in the helicopter for my parents, so it was just me and a medical team. Before we left, my mom and dad were told I might not make it. When they got there, they were told I was going to die. My diagnosis is chemo-induced cardiomyopathy, a rare side effect, and when it happened so soon after chemo, children do not survive. They didn't tell me, but I knew I was really sick and wondered if death was a possibility. After the first day at Sick Kids, my condition seemed to stabilize, even though I still wasn't doing too well. I was on a lot of heart medication. I was also on BiPAP. Air was forced into my lungs through a mask in my nose. This took some pressure off my lungs by doing some of the hard work of breathing for me. It meant my heart didn't have to work so hard. The doctors did everything they possibly could for me, but after a few days, it was clear that I was not improving. I was getting worse as my meds were steadily being increased. The doctors explained to my parents that because my blood cell counts were still low from chemo, they couldn't operate. So going on ECMO or life support was not an option. If I went into cardiac arrest, I would not be resuscitated. I was not a candidate for a heart transplant because I just had cancer. I would have to wait 2 years before I would qualify for a transplant. My only hope was a LVAD, a small pump that goes directly into the bottom of my heart to keep my blood flowing and can last for years. But again, my blood counts were too low to survive the operation. And the doctors didn't think I would last more than a couple of weeks. They didn't think that was enough time for my blood counts to recover. My parents had no choice but to tell me what my prognosis was. That was a really bad day. My mom told me what the doctors had been saying, that I wouldn't live. But I didn't believe it. I was determined to do whatever the doctors told me to. I was kept dehydrated so my heart didn't have to do much work. It was hard not being able to drink or eat what I wanted. Everything that went into my mouth was measured. It had to be less liquid than what came out. Some days I was only allowed a cup of fluid to drink the whole day. But I did it. The doctors and I worked together to help me to live long enough so my blood counts could recover. And they did. On June 3rd, I got my LVAD. It was a 4-hour open heart surgery, and it was a big success. There were some difficulties. A few weeks after I got my LVAD, some fluid collected on my heart. The LVAD wasn't working properly, and I was in a lot of pain. I went into surgery, and the doctors said the blood flow going through the LVAD was so low, they thought they were going to lose me once again. They saved my life. Recovery took months. It was difficult and painful. Sometimes I doubted myself. My body was so weak, my legs were like sticks. Standing was so hard. Would I ever walk again? What about dancing? My physiotherapist helped me through all this. Sometimes it seemed they were just torturing me, but they knew what had to be done. On July 6th, I took my first steps. In a few weeks, I was trying out dance moves again. And on August 9th, I became the first child from Sick Kids with a LVAD to be discharged. Because I'm the first...
That's okay.
Because I am the first, my medical team, led by Dr. Jennifer Conway, would like me to stick close by, so I will stay close to Toronto until I qualify for a heart transplant. On January 15th, 2014. And then begin the wait for my new heart. The past year has been one of ups and downs, mostly ups. I have loved spending time in the downtown Camp Ooch and made new friends there. and I have enjoyed getting to know the downtown area, visiting landmarks and shopping. Toronto is not a bad place to be stuck in for a couple of years. I have seen and done many things I would not be able to do in Thunder Bay. I have met a few celebrities, and I will have great stories to tell my kids and grandchildren. I can't thank the cardiac team at Sick Kids enough for what they have done for me. When they met me, I was a skinny weakling, destroyed by chemo. They didn't know the determined athlete I was before cancer. All their experience told them I would die, yet they did everything they could to give me the slim chance I needed to survive. I've spent many months on 4D, the cardiac floor at Sick Kids. The nurses on 4D are very good at their job. Some have even become my friends. The whole atmosphere on 4D is positive and friendly, yet always professional. They listened to my concerns and even put up with my mother when she was too stressed. When the 4D nurses put on a meal at Ron McDonald House, I learned about all what cardiac kids had done to support them and the medical care on 4D. I believe this support has helped a great deal to create that positive atmosphere and add it into my care. Thank you for your support.